Okay.
Hey
Mhm.
there. Hey everyone. Oh my gosh, lesson 12. Can you believe it? It has just been such a beautiful journey. When I say that my heart is so full, I'm not kidding. And each and every one of you are amazing. And I've seen the growth and your awareness raising and your results changing and just, more and more joy, happiness, alignment, all of that. So this is lesson 12. I'm going to front load this with the announcements so that if Lisa
Okay.
and Laura, I don't want them to have to listen to the whole call, although I would love them to do that. So here's the announcements. Blah, blah, blah. This is technically our last session of the 12 lessons.
Okay.
So this lesson, though, as my kids would say, don't sleep on this lesson. This lesson about leadership is so cool. And if you're feeling like you want to up level your leadership, I know you all do, go back to this. It's really fascinating about how we can have a vision, particularly if you're in sales, particularly if you're leading teams, particularly if you're leading clients. Kathy, being a leader in your family, Kathy
Mhm.
and I just had an offline conversation about, being a leader in our families. So
Mhm.
often family paradigms set up the path. And because we are unaware of how to be leaders, how to lead authentically from inside of
Mhm.
us,
Right.
we don't take those leadership reins. Now, does that mean corralling everybody and forcing them to do what we say? No, it doesn't. But don't sleep on this lesson. That's what I want to say. And we'll talk more about this lesson in that context. And expanding our concept of what being a leader is. And I have my own take on it as well. But announcements. So technically, this is our last call. I would love to connect one-on-one with everybody. I have to a certain extent. You know that if you don't know, you know now, big announcement. I have been in my own process of creating my own program for a long time now. Joni can attest to this. She and I have had many a conversation about creating my own program. And
I have such a huge smile on my face right now.
oh,
I
good.
mean, like really, really, really full of joy for you.
Good. Thank you. Well, you've been
Yes.
part of it. All of you have been part of it. And I mean that in the truest sense. My TIR group and this group, I have taken everything, and I'm so, so indebted and grateful to all of you. I've taken everything that everybody's talked about in terms of self-image, worthiness, self-confidence, the knowing doing gap, inspired action, channeling that inspired action, going through fear and procrastination, integrating belief with behavior. All of that is being folded into this program in a way that we take the concepts that we've all been studying for so long now, and we really put the rubber to the road, as Bob used to say. It's really where the rubber hits the road. Because in the next 3 to 6 months, I want you to say, oh my gosh, I have made quantum leaps over this time. And that's my commitment to you in this next coming 3 months. So more on that later. I'm working with Dan to put together the landing page so you know the what, where, when, how, and who,
Great.
how many days it's going to meet, what we're going to be doing. I can tell you up front, it's going to include, I have the outline here, several components. Accountability. I want you to have a plan that you're working on a weekly basis that's moving you toward your goals.
Good.
Because it's so easy for our paradigms to keep us just doing the same thing we're doing. It's not because we're not disciplined. It's not for no other reason than this is our lives. Whatever is happening in here is going to be calling the shots. So we're going to take everything we know, rework the paradigms, build a new paradigm, and practice, practice, practice. We're going to get to Carnegie Hall. Practice, 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 right? So that's what this is going to be about. And it's going to have so much goodness in it. It's going to have a module on money, relationships, right? Whether you're in one, you want to have a better one, We're going to talk about it. We're going to make it happen. We're going to build a new paradigm together for you about your relationships, family, significant other, clients, everything. It's going to be robust. We're going to have an active mastermind, a real proper mastermind. And I'm not saying what you're in isn't a proper mastermind, but it's going to be a proper mastermind. There's going to be accountability. There's so much. My goal now is to pare it back so that it's not drinking from a fire hose, but you have enough of the things that you're going to need to get you out of your head and into action. Effective, inspired, fun, frightening, exciting action. That's going to be moving you towards your goals. So more on that later. I'll have a landing page probably by end of day tomorrow, if not.
Oh, good.
Next week, Tuesday night, we're going to meet and do the Power Life script at the same time, 5 p.m. Mountain, Tuesday night. So we're not
Same
done.
time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
same time, same channel. Thursday morning, we'll meet at the same time. And any questions you have about the program, any questions you have about next steps, we'll be talking about that next Thursday morning. Okay. So same time. So nothing changes next week. Kathy.
Do you see yourself meeting once a week or twice a week?
In the spirit of over delivery, Joni's also laughing.
Indeed.
In keeping with my paradigm of over delivery, there'll be at least 2 calls a week, and I'm thinking 3.
Okay, okay, that's great.
But what I'm also been inspired, I mean, I am just downloading this on the fly. I'm telling you, when we practice what we preach here, the ideas are coming fast and furious. You know, I have been doing 3 mornings a week as a test, as a beta test with my TIR group. And by the way, you guys have been invited to that too. These power hours. What I would like to do is at least 1 power hour a week where we're not studying the material. Many of my colleagues do it where you can get together and, you know, you get on a Zoom and then you study the lesson at hand. I want it to be a thinking session. Oh, Laura's here. Awesome.
Great.
Yes. Hey,
Seriously?
Laura. Yes. So there'll be at least 1 of those sessions. More to come. I'm gonna stay in the energy of it. And
Laura, whoa. Holy
Laura, good to see you.
Hey, oh, I'm trying to hold on. We're driving and I thought I was on my earplug.
No
Anyway,
worries.
hi.
Hey, Bruce.
I can't hear you now, so hold on, I'll be back.
Okay, no worries. So this power hour is going to be designed. We'll probably do a visualization, a meditation to get you into the energy of your goal achieved. And then we're just going to be together in a group Zoom chat. We'll put ourselves on mute, but there will be question prompts like, asking your intuition, asking God, asking the universe, asking, what that is for you, for downloads of inspired ideas. So what's the point? Hey, Laura, I'm talking about the new program. And then we're going to go into this lesson. The point is to take everything you know, actively get you reprogramming and building a new program that you integrate, right? Praxis, integration of belief with behavior. Taking inspired action.
Whatever you can do to get that in before they leave, because they're leaving Monday.
Oh, hold on a second. Integrating belief with behavior, but then giving you an experience of thinking. This is where I think most of the programs are falling. Let me just say it'll be helpful. Because we learn so much on a conscious level, but we have to practice thinking. And I want you to have that experience in that group, in that energy of true generative thought, because I don't think it's hard. I don't want to set it up that it's hard to do on your own. I think we need to build the practice of doing it on our own. It's like if you were a pro tennis player, you wouldn't just show up for the lecture, the lectures on learning how to be a good tennis player. You can't learn how to play tennis by reading a book. You can't learn how to ride a bike by listening to a talk on it. You have to practice riding the bike. You have to practice doing the do. We have to practice thinking. And I believe that this program is going to help you practice thinking on your own so that you build that trust in your own intuition. You build the practice of trusting your own decision making. Certainly doing it in the program, but then Kathy, that conversation we had before everybody else came online, the practice of sitting there and thinking, so you have a structure. Oh, I'm experiencing unwanted things or unwanted circumstances or an unwanted way of seeing this. I'm feeling low vibration. I'm feeling down.
Right.
Well, what can I do? What shall I do? Well, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to put on some music and I'm going to intentionally think about what I do want. Ask for guidance. Trust my intuition. Look at what's working. Use that as a springboard for building a better model.
Yes.
Because it's that pause and pivot. When we experience the contrast, we have to pause and pivot. But we're going to practice that process of pausing. It's a lot of alliteration. Practice the process of pausing and pivoting.
I love it.
The 4 Ps. So that's going to be part of that. So more to come. It's going to be juicy. It's going to be good. It's going to be thanks to everything that I've learned from everybody here in my Thinking into Results group. It's going to be fabulous. Multiple meetings a week. There will be one-on-one coaching. I have some bonus ideas. It's going to be smoking hot. You will not want to miss it.
And it starts maybe May 15th, that week of May
Yes,
15th?
May 15th is the start date that week. So more to come on that. So let's talk about this lesson on leadership.
Yeah.
I want to, and then I want to get your feedback or what your aha moments were or what you took away from this. But when I think about leadership, it has previously been in the context of business, corporate setting, getting people to do things, in a certain way, that kind of thing. And I think that's powerful and important. Listen, the reason I'm living in a house is because somebody owns a business that builds houses. He does an effective job at leading his team to build houses. Leadership in any endeavor is a way to leverage your power as an individual human being to do more than you could do. So think of it in this way. If you want to do more good in the world through, say, for Laura, through her foundation, she can have a vision, and that is the job of the leader, is to create a vision of a future that doesn't currently exist. Okay, so that's the first thing. The leader is a strong originator of what? Of ideas, a vision of the future. Hey, Richard Branson was like, hey, I'm going to create a cruise ship company that has no children allowed. He saw a vision of the future, of a possibility of filling a gap, that there are people who want to go on cruises, sans children. So he did that. He's not the captain of the ships. He's not the operator of the company of the ships. I mean, he is, but he's a strong originator. He has a vision. And the advice that he has given to people is, you hold the vision, hire the smartest people you possibly can, and then give them all the resources they need to empower them to do what they do best. And that's how you take an average guy who has a big vision, who now is a billionaire, multi-billionaire, because he had belief in his own vision. And I think I don't know if he knows what he's doing in this context, but I know he's probably an unconscious competent, or maybe started out that way, but we know the drill. He made with his imagination a vision. He got emotionally involved with it, stepped out in faith physically, and made it happen. You know, Elon Musk, the same thing. I mean, the guy's going to colonize Mars. That to me is crazy. But let me just finish this thought for a second and then I'll get to you, Kathy. That's crazy. Like that is so far out of the, like we could
Oh,
put
yeah.
a robot there, but that's it, man. That's like a stretch. But getting to the moon was also crazy before it was done. But he's willing to take risks. Stepping out in faith, he just blew up he didn't, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but you know, launched something and it blew up. So we have to be willing to have that vision and have it so strongly in believing in something we cannot see, hear, smell, taste, or touch, but embody it using our will on an emotional level, so much so that it is our lived reality. Like it's not if it's happening, it's just a matter of when. That's what an effective leader does. Kathy, what's your question?
I was going to say, this is kind of interesting. We had some friends left over from business school when I was married, and they lived in England. So we went and visited them and stayed at their beach house. And Richard Branson's mother lived next door, if you can believe it.
Of course.
And I got to meet her, and she was such a free spirit. And I see where he got it. You know, she was just, I mean, you could see that she was behind everything that he was thinking of.
Right.
She would
She
talk
lived in
about-
sounds like she lived in the space of possibility.
She
right?
did.
Yeah. And
see-
think of, go ahead.
I see that with Elon Musk. His
I
mother.
was just going to say,
Talk about
Mae
it.
Musk. Exactly. She's a model.
Right.
model
And the
of
boys
all-
just took after them.
Right.
Yeah.
And she has a daughter too, who's a filmmaker. Interesting story. She recently wrote a book. I forgot the title of it. But when you think of leadership, I love that you brought that up about meeting Branson's mother.
Yeah.
Leadership isn't just a vertical in business. We can be leaders in our families.
Mm-hmm.
Never underestimate what your children, and I know, we all have access to kids or influence on kids. It could be your friends, it could be your clients, it could be, any group of people that you're around. I would like to think that my being sober, I pushed on Lydia for years to get sober because I knew she had a problem. Why did I know that? Because I had a problem, right? But when I finally just backed off and lived my life in alignment with integrity, I'd like to believe that her seeing me inspired her. And lo and behold, my ex-husband, never wanted to be left behind. He was also sober, or at last word was. And now my youngest daughter, after going through that whole thing with her hand surgery, got off cigarettes and booze.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow.
So never underestimate where and when you can be a leader. I would encourage us all to adopt the mantle and the mantra. I am a leader in every domain of my life. And to me, that means I live in alignment with my values. I know what they are, and I hold to them even when nobody's looking, right? Like I keep my promises. I don't take the 4 agreements. I don't take things personally. I do the right thing. I set myself to be an example for others. And I think living in that way really does so many things for us, but it also gives an inspiration to other people. You never know who's watching you. You never know that ripple effect, that downstream effect, like Joni was saying about her mother being proud of her. So that's my spiel on leadership. And then they do such an excellent job in this lesson, Bob and Earl, of showing us, I've really been seeing this. It's not we'll see how many people are going to be in this new program. I have a goal for how many people are going to be in this new program. Is it to serve me? That will be an outcome of me serving other people. This is going to be the best to date. And you would be silly. You'd be crazy not to be part of this, because you know what? The value you're going to receive is going to so far exceed the time and the money invested in it. That's the vision I'm holding. That's not part of a sales pitch, kind of. But but do you see the difference? It's not like, well, I'm waiting to see if people sign up to think that this is going to be a rock star deal. That'll be great. And I actually have one person who's committed and another person.
I'm committed.
Yeah, Kathy, I know that. Thank you so much. And I appreciate your, the commitment. But my point is, I want you all to take this example and say, Kathy, when you go into a conversation with someone about doing this work, you're like, these people would be crazy not to do it. Like, what is this worth? Everything. It's a pittance what they're paying you to ultimately transform their lives. So that is strong originators. That's what we have to think about. Joni, I know with you and your endeavors. Laura, everybody should be doing this, including me. You should be kicking my ass. Just kidding. I'm kicking my own butt. Yeah, no worries. So this is the stance for the things that we, this is the stance that we have to take for the things we feel passionately about in life. And Kathy, I muted you just for a second. And I muted you too, Laura, but you can unmute yourself. But this is the stance that we all want to take in the things we're passionate about, our goals, our dreams, our desires. We have to be, I think it's the hellbent for leather quote that comes to mind. Like, this shall happen. And I know we've all had those lived experiences, right, Laura? We've all had those experiences. Like, I have no idea how this is going to happen, but I have a vision. I have a dream. I mean, wasn't that Martin Luther? I have a dream. He didn't have a spreadsheet. He didn't have a plan necessarily. I mean, I think obviously he had a plan, but the dream comes first. The vision comes first. Everything flows out of that. Why? I'm just going to say, I want to say this. I used it in my last example with my last group. In lesson 1, Bob talks about making a committed decision. You have to use your imagination to build the dream. And then you have to answer 2 questions. Am I able? Well, yes, everybody's able. If you can dream it, Bob has told me face to face, it's for you. The dream is for you. It came to you because you resonated with it. You created it. It's for you. You co-created it with Spirit, with God. However you want to interpret that. I said to him, is it possible that my dreams are crazy or too far out there for me? And he said, if it came to you, it's for you. You will never have a dream that isn't for you. First thing, but you're always able, and you're always able. The human spirit is infinite, right? It's connected to the infinite. Am I willing? This is where the rubber hits the road. Are you willing to do what it takes to deal with this, the old paradigm? Now, this doesn't have to be a big fight, but it feels like it until we build the new paradigm and install it. The old paradigm is really a challenge. But when you make the decision that this is your goal, you're down here producing thoughts, feelings, behavior, and results. When you make a decision, I will get to this. I don't know how, but I will. I know that I will. This is what a strong leader does. You elevate yourself through your imagination to this frequency of the good you desire. All the answers are there. All the inspired downloads, all the how is on the frequency of the goal achieved. So the decision is, this I will do come hell or high water. I don't have to struggle. I don't have to be in by me, Laura, thank you, by me to get here. I need to do the inner work to get myself as early often as possible up onto the frequency of the good I desire. Through my imagination first, build the image, and then using my will to be emotionally involved on the vibration of it. That's where all the inspired action, that's where all the ideas, that's where all the downloads come from. And then, with that in your heart of hearts, you're going to have to you're going to have the will to move into action on it. Those are the three components: the imagination, the will, the intuition, right? We also have perception, reason, and memory. We'll talk about those more, and that's also coming up in this next program. But using those higher faculties, the way they're designed to be used, that's how Bob did everything he did. That's how Oprah's done what she's done. I don't know that she could explain it in those terms, but leading yourself in that way is going to lead to remarkable results. And once you learn how to do that for yourself, you can teach it to other people. You can teach it to your kids. You can teach it to your clients. You can teach it to your employees. You can teach it to your customers. You can train your clients to think in a certain way so their results are better. It's just a win-win-win. So with that, I'm going to be quiet. Any thoughts on that? What are your thoughts? What were your takeaways from this? Or what do you think generally about leadership? Kathy, hold on. I'm going to have Laura unmute herself. Hey, Laura.
Hey, thanks. So, so much. First thing first, I think about you every day when I look at my calendar and you're not there. But I know you're a good girl and you can take care of yourself and you'll be in the pod when you can be in the pod.
Absolutely.
And that it'll give you so much when you start coming consistently. So
thank you.
I absolutely value your ability to run your own life. As far as leadership, I love what I'm doing. I love what's happening in my life. I love how I am learning to work as a team, and yet still be the leader. And that's a real fine line, to allow people the ability to expand their gifts and their tools and everything that they have to bring it to. And that's especially challenging working with my son because he moves about 20,000 miles an hour. I can almost always keep up with him, but not always. But I love it. And I love that quote, if I can dream it, it's for me. I love that. I'm going to hold on to that big time because I am living a dream. I am doing what I want to be doing. I am expanding. And the paradigm of, you should put this on a sales call for you. You should record it and use it, because I would not be able to love what I'm doing if I didn't get past my paradigms on money. And that's what this programs and the program before have done for me. I don't even want to discount hardly anymore. I see my value. I see where it's at, and I expect that people will do it. I have loved this month. I love knowing that the money in the bank isn't as important as the process. And I love that we have more than enough to do this month all on our own without taking anything else. We've generated, we've gone. My son's working more. He makes $25 an hour versus 15 like everybody else. He's worth it. But I am thrilled. I am thrilled. The next step is I keep seeing the 40,000 a month or more and I keep on doing that. So that we can expand. But I see us in Logan, I see us in St. George, I see us as the leader in red light therapy. Fox News is coming to do an interview, for crying out loud. So yeah, I'm loving what's happening. Something switched when I realized, when I sat and thought about all the things that I have had in my life to prove to me that when I ask God for what I want, I get it. And I've asked very specific things and I've gotten very specific things every time I ask. And I'm asking. And I'm not asking in fear or worry that it isn't happening, that it's there, it's for me. And the when and how is up to him. The what and why I've got down. So, and it's there. And even though like, I can hear Dan saying, but don't think of it as in the future, right? Right, got it. It's not in my bank account right now, but it's available to be in my bank account right now. And that's God's job. So I'm holding him to it. He and I will be having interviews. Okay, there we go.
I love that. That is so good. Well, that's so awesome, Laura. And it's interesting. So much of this is interesting. When you get to that place of loving the process, of enjoying the vibrational equivalent, of living in that peace that you have no idea, and you don't need to. That's none of your business. Like you do the inspired action, you get an idea, you create a program, you get an idea, you do this, you call Fox News, you do that, you're doing everything that's downloading. And I see this, conversations with God as a two-way street, right? So like the intuition is like a little nudge, like, hey, do this. Oh, okay, cool. I got the rest of it. Okay, cool. But you're right. It's not that it's in the future. It's already done. And the level of the faith that it is done, it is so, gives you that peace in your heart. And it frees you up, ironically, to be more effective, to have more joy, to have other people grow around you, to be happier. Isn't that the point? Listen, I don't want to wait for this to show up to be happy. That's not how this deal works. It ain't, that dog won't hunt, as Bob would say. That's not the way it works. And I've been playing with that too. And I hope you all have, in terms of feeling more joy, feeling that it's already done. It's been great. It has been so great. It's not conditional. The love isn't conditional. The joy isn't conditional. None of that is conditional. It's not conditional. You generate the joy, the love, the happiness, the positive expectancy. I can't wait to see how this one resolves. It's like not a murder mystery. It's like a mystery, but it's that we're always amazed at how things unfold, but we're never surprised. So I love that. I think that's great, Laura. I muted you temporarily, but Kathy, back to you. Hey, Kathy, hold on, unmute yourself.
There. Okay. I kind of lost what I was thinking, but I love this. I love the model, the idea for being a leader. And it's almost like, for me, I need to really train myself to do it and embody it. Because I was trained to always, even though I was a leader, I always kind of deferred it.
Right.
And I need to own it now.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple of ways that I've found just tactically helpful to do that is, first of all, seeing yourself as a leader already. You are a leader. You're showing your children a different way to live. You're inspiring other people. You inspire your friends. You're just an inspiration. You inspire people here. You inspire me. You've invested in yourself. You're doing this work on a daily basis. You're fulfilling your purpose. And that's leadership right there. But then look at, where else would I like to step up? How else would I like to strengthen being a leader? And part of that can be self-confidence. It can be conviction in what your vision is and what you're doing. And we'll be doing this, but it's seeing yourself first, right? It always starts with an image of what's wanted. And then it moves into the feeling of it. And the other thing that I found helpful is bridging back to when you did something you thought you could not do.
Yes.
leading the Olympics. That was a big
Oh my
thing.
God. That was,
While
I
you
didn't-
had 2 little kids, right? Crazy.
that was overwhelming. But then after 3 months, you just sort of
Yeah.
got in it.
You've 100% risen to the occasion of everything, getting yourself out of the relationship that was untenable. That seemed like an impossibility at
Oh,
one point,
absolutely.
right? What am I going to
Yes.
do with my life? How am I going to do this? So we want to bridge back to times in our lives where you have been a leader, where you have transcended, where you have brought that element, that essential element of leadership out of yourself. I truly believe being a leader is when you're starting to be in alignment with who you are, but then creating that vision that's going to improve the world, improve the people around you, and bring more good to you ultimately. So bridge back to those times. Going to your college reunion, that was an act of leadership. You busted through that terror barrier. Laura does it on the regular. Lisa does it. Joni does it. I do it. This is about finding those everyday moments where you can lead, but it's also about building a self-image of being a strong leader, a strong originator of ideas, of vision for how the future can be better. And we all can do that. We can all do that. We've been in this game enough and we know how to do that. But I think it's that courage of conviction, right? It's time for us to get out of the shallows. We're going to go into the deep end now, end of days conviction. Like, this is how I want to be remembered. This is the legacy I want to have. This is the impact I want to have on the world. Are people going to think you're crazy? You're not doing it right. I think it was, what did Peter Sage say, Joni? If you're not having people taking shots on you at the daily, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. Something to that effect for sure.
That if you're out to change the world in a big way, people's paradigms are going to come for you. Not everybody's going to be like, oh, that's a great idea. No, not at all. It's polarizing. There are going to be people who think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and there's going to be people who think you're clear out of your mind. Laura's in that position. I love what Laura's doing. I did that 43 years ago. Think about that. 43 years ago, I started a health food store when I was 20 years old. I was out of my mind. Interest rates were 18%. I paid 2 above prime. I was paying 20%. And I knew zero about running a business. And there were 3 other stores that were my competition.
Amazing.
Now, I don't say that to edify myself. I was too stupid. I was too naive. I didn't have anything to lose at that point, right? I dropped out of college. That wasn't a pleasant thing for my mother, who was so hell-bent on me going to college and was paying for it. I literally failed out of college because my heart wasn't in it. And but I was working at this health food store and I'd been anorexic and I changed my diet and my health came back and I was like, dang, if this doesn't work, I don't know what does. But it was weird in 1980. And I wasn't in Chicago or Ann Arbor or Boston or, a place where people were kind of beginning to be into it.
Right.
I was in Holland, Michigan with my Dutch brethren, right? Who were some of the most frugal people I've ever met. They have a lot of good qualities, but they are frugal. And I was convincing them to give me $2 a loaf of bread for Ezekiel bread when they could buy 4 loaves of Wonder Bread for $1. But I figured it out. And my business grew and grew. I moved it twice to larger locations. The other business went out of business. That wasn't my goal. But I say that not to impress you, but to impress upon you that I was willing to look crazy because I was so passionate. I was so blinded by my passion that it just not making it work wasn't an option.
Yeah.
Right? I had inspired ideas that I told this other company that I worked for. I was like, hey, you ought to have a lending library. You ought to educate for free. You ought to buy $1,000 worth of books, or maybe it was $250 at the time, $250 worth of books. that people can take out like a library and they can educate themselves because they don't know how to use 90% of what's in here and they won't buy it. If they don't know the benefit, they won't give me money for it. And they were like, just sell more stuff. I'm like, that won't work. Let's do cooking classes. Nobody knew what to do with tofu at the time. I mean, it's almost laughable today when you think of Whole Foods being owned by Amazon and the whole health and wellness industry and even modern medicine. But I saw the trend coming. I saw it. I knew there was a there. And I was just crazy enough to go run hard at it. Laura's doing that with her business. There is a there. The hard part is she's making the market. I was making the market back then. Heavy on education, heavy on giving a lot of value, heavy on holding the vision of it, even when nobody thinks it's a good idea. Nobody squawks, Kathy, at spending, I think Natasha's tuition at Brown was $65,000. That wasn't even her expenses. A year on a college, per year on a college degree, undergraduate college degree. Nobody thinks twice about that. But the business you and I are in, pulling $3,000 out of somebody for 3 months of life-changing information, that's not their problem, Kathy. That's our problem. We have to reframe that. We have to believe that if you had to borrow, beg, or steal this money to do this program, you should do it. Sell your car like Kim Calvert did.
Right.
This is the way we have to think as leaders. It takes kahunas. It takes courage. And for some reason, what I have noticed is the older we get, the more risk adverse we become. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because the paradigms are more entrenched. I don't know if we have more fear of failure, if our egos are more, like we can't stand going down in flames. Other people's opinions. I don't know. I haven't fully baked that question out yet. But I think we'd all agree, right, Kathy? You were pretty naive. When they asked you to run the Olympics, you were like, sure.
Totally naive. I didn't know what I was.
What was I thinking? She says.
It was like, really? How do I do this? I didn't know how I was going to do it.
Right. But yet, you did. And it was the most successful
Olympics we've had.
Take pride in that.
So
take pride in your work. Let's take pride in ourselves. That's not to take away from other people's pride in themselves. That's not the point here. I want you to take pride in yourself because you're here because you're visionaries. Lisa, Laura, Joni, Kathy, myself, we've never given up. It would be easier in many ways to go get a job, and I'm not against having a job, a job. But there are probably 5 things I could think that I could be doing if I really put myself to it. There's a venture capital firm in Salt Lake. I could go work for them. I could probably make 6, low to mid 6 figures if I really put myself into it. And it would be enjoyable, but it wouldn't be fulfilling my life purpose. It would be easier. It'd probably be more lucrative in some ways. It'd probably be a faster track to more money. But that's not what I'm about at this point in my life. I'm about seeing a trend of making the world a better place. We are in an epidemic of anxiety and depression. That is no accident. People don't know how to think. They we've never lived in a more prosperous time in our lives where we've had more of our physical needs met. Medicine. My daughter probably would have died of that infection had medicine not been to the place that it's at. Safety. We live in one of the safest countries in the world. Now, granted, it's location by location, but there's not bombs dropping on our heads, thank God. There's law and order. there's a stable banking system to the extent that it is. You know, we've never lived in a time when human beings can thrive more, but you know what the problem is? Because we don't live on subsistence farming and survival, now we are faced every day with inventing who we are.
Mhm.
And we
Mhm.
don't know how to do that. They don't teach this at Harvard. They don't teach it at Brown. They don't teach it at Wellesley. They don't teach it in preschool. I don't care how much money you're spending on your kids. I've spent on average probably $1 million per child. And I'm grateful that I can, and I do it all over again. But I would add this in. Because in the absence of this, you have kids cutting themselves and committing suicide. And I'm not discounting mental health, but this is the mind. This is mental health. And if we
Mhm.
start teaching this to people out of the gate, or at least stop screwing it up in little kids, people will have a chance to live true, authentic, wholesome, happy, wildly abundant, infinitely fulfilled lives. But the old paradigm is, I'm not where I want to be. I'm unhappy. Something's wrong with me. I need to go to therapy and rehash my past and why I'm so screwed up for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
Now, I don't want to be overly negative about therapy, but it has severe limitations. It raises people's awareness about what's going on in the subconscious mind and the patterns. But then what? Wouldn't it be better to teach people how to use their minds and their spirits and their souls to be happy in the first place? I'll get off my soapbox, but that's my next frontier. Pharma has a really good business model on this one. It's called anti-anxiety and antidepressant meds. And I think there's a place for both temporarily. But it is not the long-term solution. Just like if you have heart disease, there's a short-term solution and there's a long-term solution. Type 2
Mhm.
diabetes. People are being cured every single day of type 2 diabetes, which, by the way, kills people. Causes neuropathy, causes heart disease. Typically, its comorbidity is obesity. And medicine's approach is you're going to have to be on these drugs for the rest of your life. No, we now know through diet and exercise, you can totally ameliorate type 2 diabetes. There are
Mhm.
people teaching people that, but they're the crazy ones now. Just like I was the crazy one starting a health food store, just like Kathy and I are the crazy ones teaching people how to use their minds. They'll go to therapy, they'll pay for their kids' education, but oh my God, invest in this. So that's our job, is to educate people, is to inform people, to live our lives in alignment, to be a living example of that. Lisa, I know, has dreams. Joni, I know you have dreams to lead. Laura's doing this. People have no idea what she's doing. That's her job, is to educate her market so that it's not a nice to have, it's a must have. That's what leadership is. And it all starts by leading ourselves and getting our own house in order, mentally, emotionally, and physically. But we can do both at the same time. So, any questions on this? Okay, cool. Tuesday night, we're going to do Power Life Script. I'm going to send you some homework up front. Check the WhatsApp I'd say by end of day today. Secondly, reach out to me. I'm going to have the landing page for the new program as soon as possible. It's going to be amazing. Third, next week, Thursday, we'll meet on any questions, any follow-up, anything like that. And until then, do your homework.
Peggy, I still have one question. Could I
Yes.
call you on the phone for just 5 minutes? I don't need to
Sure,
have a.
absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah, I'm available now. Joni,
Okay.
so good to have you with us, even if you're
Oh my
off the
gosh,
camera.
indeed. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just have such bad Wi-Fi
No worries.
issues.
Don't worry about
So,
it.
but
Totally.
I'm totally here, and I love what you're doing, Peggy. I'm so happy to see this coming to fruition. I think about the concept of, you know, the book, Wisdom of the Council, and, you know, other people who talk about the same concepts. And I think about the fact that we are here to expand and co-create, that we're on the leading edge and we're getting further and further. And I do believe Bob and Earl Nightingale and all of those people were on the leading edge. But now and I'm not, you know, I'm not just saying this, like I see people like you who are now taking that leading edge to the next leading edge.
Yeah.
And the fact that you finally are trusting yourself enough to do this and you know, brand it Peggy. I'm just so happy for you and happy for the world. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Joni. Well, I was missing you this morning. Joni and I used to have coffee often, and I miss our coffee chats and
I
more.
do too. I do too.
But I just want to thank all of you, Joni. Thank you so much for your support over the years, and just say that we can all be this kind of leader that we want to be. And that really is my goal of helping women identify what they want to lead people in, see themselves, have that self-image of a leader, and then embody it and have the joy of it. Because it truly is, when we're in alignment with our values, with what we believe in, with our vision, that's when we feel best. We feel in flow, answers come, life gets easier. It was hard owning that business. It was hard. I was 20. There were days where I was floating checks back in the days of checks to make my payroll and to do things. But I loved it. I absolutely loved helping people. In whatever way you know you want to help expand the world for other people, tether to that, visualize it, believe in it, believe in yourself, because that's what's going to get other people to believe in you and to believe in the thing that they can't see for themselves.
Honestly, Peggy, that in itself is a form of leadership. Understanding that service and serving others can be as simple as being in a happy mood and raising vibration. And so I think what you're talking about is equivalent to leadership.
Absolutely. No, living in alignment. What does Abraham say? You know, one person in alignment with their inner being is like, has the power of 1,000,000 who are out of alignment. And we've seen this over and over again in history. Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, you know, people in commerce, you know, Oprah, when she finally stopped trying to be Barbara Walters,
right,
and trusted being Oprah, she has eclipsed Barbara Walters. I mean, Barbara Walters is an icon. I'm not saying she's not, but the point is, it was, and I heard this out of the mouth of Oprah at a Wellesley commencement speech when Stedman's daughter was graduating from Wellesley. You know, she said, she took everybody through the story of trying to iron her hair and be this professional journalist and not cry while she was reporting on people's houses burning down, or, you know, these terrible things that she had to report on in journalism. And one day she just got fired. They said, you can't cry. You can't be crying on the news. And someone said, why don't you do your own thing? And she was like, I mean, she made the market. There were not women doing what she was doing in the market. She made the market, but she trusted herself. And look at the life that she has for herself now. She started as a Black woman, creating her own talk show. Now she has this entire media empire. But she learned how to do what we're going to learn how to do together, which is to trust the vision, to build the vision. I think you all have a pretty firm grip, but it helps to polish that. But to trust the vision enough to have the conviction to step out and do it, to connect up with source and download ideas, to be hand in hand with the source of all that is, that's going to just accelerate. If I knew back then what I knew now, I'd be John Mackey. You know, I mean, I didn't know back then what I know now, but I had enough of it in me to make it as successful as it became. So that's my way of encouraging everyone here to say, you have everything within you, and you have an amazing toolkit to bring it to the next level. Okay.
I'll let you two talk. Kathy, I just wanted to say you look really beautiful.
Well,
And that color blue is so good
I
for
know,
you.
doesn't
You
she
just
look
look
great?
thank you. Thank you. I really
You look-
appreciate. Can you give us just
Absolutely.
1 minute, an update of how you're doing and your life?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I don't know, Peggy, you want to stop recording or whatever, but
Yeah, hold on one
what-
second.
as you
I'll hit,
prefer.
yeah, I'll pause the recording. It's long, but yeah, I'll stop.